Welcome back to Mean Streets, the podcast where we investigate the best, worst, and forgotten movies of film noir and more. I am Luke Deckard.
And I'm Matthew Booth.
And we are your cinematic sleuths. Now it's time to crack another case. What are we investigating today?
We are taking a look at 1946's Notorious, starring Cary Grant and Ingrid Bergman, written by Ben Hecht, and directed by none other than the master of suspense himself, Alfred Hitchcock. The IMDb logline is: the daughter of a convicted German spy is asked by American agents to gather information on a ring of German scientists in South America. How far will she have to go to ingratiate herself with them? Widely recognized as a classic.
Indeed. And in many cases, some have suggested it's one of Hitchcock's best, if not his actual best. I think his daughter or granddaughter made a comment about Notorious maybe being the best film he ever made.
That he ever made, yeah. He's certainly held in high regard, that's for sure.
First impressions. Do you remember when you first saw this?
Not vividly, but I will have been, I don't know, early teens. Early teens. I was introduced to Hitchcock films by my parents, who liked films like, well, my mum loves Psycho, but my dad likes films like North by Northwest and Rear Window, The Man Who Knew Too Much, the James Stewart version. So we used to watch these, Saturday night sort of thing. And this will have been one of them. I've obviously seen it loads of times since, but I haven't watched it for quite a while, a few years. So it was interesting to revisit it. It is one that I enjoy. I've always liked it, but I've had some interesting thoughts while watching it for this, which we'll come on to.
I, similar to you, I grew up watching Hitchcock films. If I saw this when I was a kid, I don't remember. I was a big Cary Grant fan, so I remember watching a lot of Cary Grant movies when I was a kid, and To Catch a Thief has always been one of my favorites of Cary's and Hitchcock's. Now, so I don't remember if I actually saw this as a kid. The first time I can remember watching this movie was back in, like, I want to say 2017 when I was working on my master's, and my supervisor, I was writing, a 1920s thriller, and there was a party scene in there, and he's like, "Oh, you should watch Notorious for the party scene," and I was like, "All right, sure." So got it and watched it, for the party scene with the key when he's trying to get the key from Ingrid and all that stuff, and that was fantastic, and so that was the first time I actually sat down and watched it, that I can remember sitting down and watching it, and loved it. I thought Cary Grant is always a win for me. I thought he was fantastic. I thought Ingrid Bergman was great, and Claude Rains. I mean, come on, Invisible Man, like. Yeah, Claude Rains.
I'm great, big Claude Rains fan and Cary Grant fan.
Yeah, so this was just overall it was I really found myself invested in it and enjoying it, and honestly there's I go back and forth with Hitchcock. I'm not a great lover of Hitchcock generally. Psycho is good, I appreciate it. Like I think Birds is overrated. I think Birds is actually like kind of terrible. I do.
You've mentioned that before.
It has moments that are scary, but I think overall it's kind of boring. It's just
I have to say there are other Hitchcock films that I would choose to go to before I went to the Birds. I have to be honest.
Yes. Yeah. I like Rear Window and To Catch a Thief and stuff like that. But I'm not I'm not a connoisseur of Hitchcock, and B, I'm not a unabashed lover of all of his stuff. So yeah, I still like to say that I enjoyed this one. This one feels slightly different to some of his other movies, but then also
this is very different.
Yeah, but then also there are ways that it's very Hitchcock in certain ways. but we'll peel that onion when we get there. So that's kind of my first impression was watching it for the party scene while I was doing my MA, and enjoyed it.
The scene where it comes down. You're talking about the scene where it comes down the stairs. It zooms in.
Yes, that would zoom in on her holding the key
behind the back.
Yeah.
So there's a very similar scene in a film from about 10 years earlier, which I think is called Young and Innocent, and that the killer or the villain has got this optical tick. He has a twitch in his eye. And there's a shot from this. It's a Hitchcock film. There was a shot from that where there's a band playing at like a tea dance, and you zoom through all the dancers, and you go right into the band, all the way to the drummer, and then all the way into the drummer's face, then all the way into the drummer's top half of his face, then all the way to his eye. He gives the eye twitch.
Nice.
And it's the same principle.
Yes.
Going from big scene or big place to very small crucial plot detail.
Yeah.
So he's sort of pastiching himself in that particular scene in Notorious from Young and Innocent.
It worked really well. I assume that would have been. I mean, they're both sort of tracking shots, but I think this one actually properly zoomed in from afar, which is just really quite incredible stuff. I loved it.
He's got 10 years experience from Young and Innocent, so he's obviously learned some more technique and stuff, and it's a much more polished. It's just interesting. He has the same idea of telescoping into a crucial plot detail.
Yeah. It's almost it's like things that he's picking up along the way, honing them and executing them here. And then there are things in this film that then he will then explore in other films. The mother-son relationship. Kind of stuff. Which this is sort of, I think we'll dive into a bit more detail, but this is kind of the first film of his, I believe, that really starts to tap into that, because this is just after his
mum had just died. I think his mum had just died, and we'll get into that.
Yes. So we might as well go behind the camera and talk about how this sucker got made. So this came out September 6th, 1946. Its budget was $1 million, and its box office was $24.5 million. That ain't bad. I'm sure David Selznick was like, shit.
Yeah. Okay.
What have I done?
Yeah.
What have I done?
Whereas RKO were probably fainting.
Exactly, right? They were jumping for joy. They're like, oh my God, yes. We're on fire.
I'm not bothered to do the inflation calculation, but that's some return, that is.
Yeah, it would be. It would be insane. It would be insane. So yeah, this was, it's the production history on this is really quite interesting, I think.
Yeah.
It's almost like the actual production of it's more like the pre-production is the interesting bits, and then the actual production was less interesting, but also kind of interesting. But the idea sort of hit Hitchcock around 1944. Where he's quoted as being said that he was anxious to do a story, essentially, about kind of confidence tricks, right? He wanted Ingrid Bergman to play this particular woman, and her training would be similar to that of Marta Hari, who anyone doesn't know was during the First World War was a Dutch exotic dancer who was convicted of being a German spy. And so she used her, she's a femme fatale. She used her wiles to get information and, things like that. And, I like this idea. Hitchcock wanted to take that idea, but flip it and have the Americans use this, an American intelligence agency use this concept to, fish information for, about, Nazis hiding out in, in South America. So I thought that was quite interesting. He was very keen to kind of chip at this right off the heels of the Second World War ending. He wasn't wasting any time.
Not wasting any time. No. and of course, a few years later, it would have been pretty much redundant as a topic. You know, it'd be out of date because he'd really need to be looking at Cold War then, you know, and making it something quite different. So I think he probably knew that and was probably eager to get going.
Yes.
While it was still, you know, the war was still lingering in people's minds for a long time after it ended, of course. So
you know,
it would still.
Well, I guess
have been
at this point the war is technically still going on, so he's very eager to.
Technically, the war is still going. Yeah. By the time it's released, of course, but technically the war is going on when he's plotting it. Yeah, when he's putting it all together. So yeah, and the idea of a Mata-Hari story, I think is, you know, that is interesting. She is a sort of femme fatale in the sense that she gets by, you know, living on her wits and using her assets, shall we say, as and what she's got. And it's just, and that's an interesting
actual nefarious purposes.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a fascinating topic for, you know, you can see why Hitchcock was attracted to it.
Oh, definitely. Well, he sold it to RKO, the concept. He sold it to them as the story of a woman sold for political purposes into sexual enslavement.
Yeah.
I mean, damn.
Yeah.
1944.
1944, folks. 1944.
They're like, you know about the Hays Code, right, Mr. Hitchcock?
Yeah, well, he does a few things with the old codes, doesn't he? In this film,
he does. He finds little ways of sneaking around it.
I think he that pitch, the story of a woman sold for political purposes. He made that pitch to William Dozier, an RKO studio executive, who then went on. I find this sort of bizarre. He then went on, having greenlit or been convinced by that sort of dark political and sexual pitch to be the brains behind the Adam West Batman series.
I mean, it all tracks. I guess
it's just nuts. That is totally. You couldn't get two properties that are any more different than this. But there you go. You know,
no,
Hollywood's a strange machine.
It is, man. It's interesting that the sort of the root of this idea really comes from a short story called "The Song of the Dragon" by John Taintor, or John Taintor Foote. This was a story set during the First World War, and it's very similar in that it's about the feds who approach a theater producer. And they're like, hey, I know that you used to, you know, be macking on this girl over here. We want you to, you know, help us recruit her to, you know, enter into a relationship with a, you know, some saboteurs. It's basically the same premise of what you get here. Yeah. But that's kind of as far as it goes. You know, Ingrid Bergman's character is not. You know, she's not an actress or anything like that. There was a early draft where she was meant to possibly be a sex worker.
Yeah.
And I think you can kind of feel that a little bit in various elements of the dialogue and how people are sort of responding to her. They didn't quite reframe her character, and they definitely kept her quite promiscuous for the time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I'm not altogether convinced that still isn't partially the case. The film doesn't totally eradicate that first draft idea, I don't think.
No.
You know, I wouldn't be surprised to learn. I wouldn't, you know, that the character has done a little bit of that. Quite honestly.
Yes. Even if it's not, maybe not like maybe like high-end escort kind of stuff.
Yeah, you know?
That kind of thing. Yeah. The writing of this film seems very relaxed. So Hitchcock and Ben Hecht had worked together on Spellbound in 1945, and you know, happy to pair up again for this. And apparently, they had a really good partnership, really good working relationship that basically consisted of them spending days sitting in a room, lounging, and discussing the story. Ben would go away and write some pages, bring them back, and he didn't care when Hitchcock went and rewrote him. It was.
Well, I think that's the crucial point.
Yes, because that isn't the case in other places.
No, it's not. It certainly isn't the case with a certain hard-boiled novelist we both admire.
Yes, well, exactly. And it's that. Yes, because obviously we discussed what Strangers on a Train many moons ago with our guest Barry Forshaw, and Chandler was
experience.
not happy with this arrangement whatsoever.
No, I think the relationship between Hitchcock and Hecht is like the Jekyll side, and Chandler and Hitchcock is definitely the Hyde side of these things.
Yes, and I think whatever their relationship was, I think this was one of those moments like this is clearly working.
Yeah, and I don't think you can, I don't think it's a case of Ben Hecht saying, well, I'll just go and write a bit and who cares. I don't think it's a case of, because I couldn't find anything to suggest that it was dramatically rewritten by Hitchcock, and we know that Hitchcock would have fired him if he was totally dissatisfied with the work he was doing. So I think it's just, it was working, and the collaboration was working, and it produces something that in itself works.
Yes, and that's because on the sort of the general sort of like plotting and characterization of stuff, I have there might be some small little gripes here and there, but if I were to compare this to Strangers on a Train, well, this is infinitely better than Strangers on a Train.
I prefer this to Strangers on a Train. Yeah,
and I think part of that is down to sometimes you can just watch a film and you can tell this is all clicking. This is the creative teams are all clicking for one, for whatever reason, and you can just feel that in the performances. You can feel that in the visuals. You can feel it in the music. Lord of the Rings is probably the most perfect example of that. Like everything was just spot on, perfect across the board, and you feel it. You feel that.
You feel it.
Synergy, and I think there was something to it with this as well. Like there was, one thing that was interesting during the actual production is Hitchcock doesn't really like to be told what to do or how to or to change things, but he had an interesting relationship with Ingrid Bergman, where she can actually say, she was able to talk to him and say, look, this isn't working. This isn't what my character should be doing. And he was so infatuated. Well, he's rumored to have been infatuated with Ingrid. There's conflicting, reports on if it's accurate or not accurate, but they clearly had a lifelong friendship, clearly had some respect for her and listened to her. So again, it's one of those things where, like, unlike that butting heads with Chandler, he's listening to the people around him.
Yeah, it's interesting that, and I think that's because I'm not sure where I stand on the infatuation point, because
I can't find hard evidence for it. I feel like it's just like people saying shit.
Yeah, I think it is, because if you take the evidence of what he did to Tippi Hedren, how he felt about Tippi Hedren, and Vera Miles, people like that, he really went for them, whereas he didn't he was sort of obsessed with Grace Kelly, but he treated her with respect, as I've always understood it. And I get the same with Ingrid Bergman, in that he probably was attracted, but
easy to do,
respected as well. But respected as well. Whereas I think Tippi Hedren, it was just like dangerous lust almost, Yeah. And I think that's I think there's a marked difference between that. So I think I almost certainly was attracted to her. I mean, who isn't? But I think there was something that kept his sort of baser instincts at bay, really, because he was also the same with Grace Kelly. So I don't buy that he was. He certainly didn't treat him the same way. I'm convinced he didn't treat him the same way.
No,
the famous stories of him. We've mentioned the birds. Famous stories of him, like almost torturing Tippi Hedren in the scene where the birds are coming through in that room. There's no suggestion of that here. No suggestion of that here.
Quite the opposite. Exactly.
Quite the opposite.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Interesting, as you were saying earlier about kind of like being like ahead of the curve. The a huge part of the plot, well, the MacGuffin rather, it hangs on this uranium that they find inside of the wine bottle. Now, it's interesting because before RKO really took over this film, Selznick, was very uncertain about this element of the film. He didn't really buy it. He didn't understand it, basically. And essentially, you know, what happened is Hitchcock went and spoke with a guy named Robert Millikan, who was a physicist guy of some repute, who worked on the Manhattan Project, I believe, in like 1945, and he didn't give Hitchcock particular information on how to make something like the atomic bomb, but he did give him hints at what would work and what would be dangerous, and what sort of compound would be suspect, and uranium became that thing. During that time when Selznick was sort of uncertain about this stuff, well, then you get Hiroshima, and the Manhattan Project becomes public, and then it's he sort of stepped back a little bit on it. He still wasn't entirely sold on it, but there was a little bit of a eagerness to accept it, because again, Hitchcock he's looking into this stuff before it actually happens. So
it happens, yeah.
Rumors and stuff like that. He probably heard, goes and speaks to people, he finds out what's going on, wants to put something about that in his film, because he's quoted as saying that he was followed by the FBI for a while after this. Whether it's true or not, I don't know, but he claims to be followed by the FBI.
He claims. Yeah, he claims. I don't know if he was or not.
Who knows?
Who knows? It's a nice story. It's a nice Hitchcock story if it is true.
It's true. It is. But then at the same time, it's fascinating that he's writing this story about and working on this story about these Nazis who have absconded to South America, who are working on atomic weapons, and getting the ingredients for them and stuff like that, at a time when that's the atomic bomb hasn't landed yet. It's just absolutely fascinating.
I wonder if it came afterwards. I wonder if it was more a case of Hitchcock saying, they're doing something and we'll work out what it is later.
Possibly.
And then saying, what's the worst thing that they could do? And then perhaps talking to what's his name? Millikan, and saying, what could they be doing? And he, and he says, this is all speculation on my part.
Well, it said it happened in like mid 1945, and they didn't start shooting this film until 46. So,
but yeah, I mean, it's a great MacGuffin. I think it's a brilliant MacGuffin. It's one of his best MacGuffin, and the fact that it's rooted in things that were happening or were about to happen makes it even more tasty in a way.
Yes.
If that's the right word to use. It makes it all the more tangible and all the more of a threat. All the more it raises the stakes. Essentially, it raises the stakes of the film. The fictional plot.
Yeah,
which is always good. Always good.
Selznick was sort of having issues.
Yeah,
multiple issues was he having. He apparently still didn't entirely like the uranium stuff. Wasn't really sure about Cary Grant's character either. Didn't think that audiences would like Alicia, and ultimately was like, I don't know if I want to put much more money into this, because he had already dumped a bunch of money into another film called Duel in the Sun.
Yeah.
So this is where he's like, you know what? Screw it. I'm done. He sold Notorious to RKO as a package. So he's, everyone who was involved, he just gave it over to them. He got a chunk of change for this. He got $800,000.
He sure did.
Plus 50% of the film profits.
Yeah, I mean, that's not bad for something you're bailing on, is it?
No, not at all. And given that this thing made, $24.5 million, he still walked away.
He did okay.
A rich guy. Now again, if he had not sold it, however, the silver lining of him selling it meant that Hitchcock was free to work unrestrained by him. He could basically do what he wanted to do.
Yeah, and Hitchcock and Selznick were another troubled relationship. They didn't get on really. Hitchcock did feel constrained by him. Stretching all the way back to Rebecca, 6 years earlier in 1940. So I suspect it was with a huge sigh of relief.
Yeah,
that this happens to Hitchcock.
Yeah. So while we say that he's probably kicking himself, at the same time, the film as it is might not have been what it is had
I don't think it would
stuck around. Those two stuck around together.
Yeah, I don't think it would. I think it would have been a lesser film if Selznick still had his finger in the pie. I have to say,
possibly, very, very, very possibly. Something that did fascinate me, and I mean, you can kind of see it when you watch the film, but not in a way that is problematic. But interestingly enough, most of this film was filmed indoors on sound stages with rear projections and stuff like that, and a lot of including scenes that you think are actually outside, but they're not outside when they're walking around squares and things like that. The second unit has gone around and they've done all these pickup shots and
Hitchcock didn't like location shooting.
No, he didn't. And it's funny to me because we sort of, we've poked fun at modern movies that, like the Marvel movies that are all filmed on green screen and you're not in any real locations and stuff like that, or like that Ghostbusters clip that came out, that showed them just, acting outside but in front of just blue blocks and stuff, and the whole background was inserted in. It's like, it's funny because he's basically doing the 1940s equivalent of that.
He's doing exactly that, yeah.
but I don't know. It seems to work better. I don't know what it is about it, but it felt.
Yeah, I
bought into it more.
Yeah, there are a couple of scenes like when they go horse riding. The clouds in the sky are obviously a painting.
Yeah.
Clearly, very clearly a painting. But I agree with you. When they're driving, when she's driving and Grant's trying to recruit her and she's drunk, she gets arrested. Or stopped by the police at least.
Yes.
That rear projection is quite slick. And I compare it to North by Northwest, where Grant's driving a car when he's got a full bottle of bourbon poured down his neck. That does look fake. And I wonder if the fact that this is black and white has something to do with the fact that it doesn't look fake, or as fake as it could.
I think so.
Because it certainly stands out more in colour. Stands out more in colour.
Yeah.
And I think with black and white you can fudge things.
I think
better.
so. I think so, because I recently watched the 4K of To Catch a Thief, which is, again, one of my favorite films. But I mean, there are moments like, oh wow, yeah, you can really tell that's fake.
yeah, and you certainly kind of North by Northwest, you can tell it's fake.
Yeah, color I think doesn't help that, no. And maybe that's part of the problem with some.
I was just going to say maybe that's part of the problem with CGI in this day and age, that color just emphasizes it. I don't know.
But then you look at other films, like when we did Sin City, which is all stylized black and white, but it's fun as heck and wonderful to fun to look at.
Yeah, exactly. I think black and white makes a lot of difference. I think I'm not saying it hides a multitude of sins, but I think it eases those techniques that are used for whatever reason, to substitute indoor for outdoor for indoor. And they don't. The rear projection in this doesn't take me out of it the way that the CGI does in modern movies, in Marvel movies and the like. Where it's so obvious that it's not real.
Yes,
there is a difference here, and it's not just that it's an older film and it's a classic film. It's not that. It's not just that it's Marvel. It's all them sort of modern movies that use this technique.
Yeah,
they all look fake, and this doesn't. And the only thing that's different is the color.
Yeah.
So for whatever reason, I'm not a film technician,
Well, it's color and lighting and stuff, because I recently saw set pictures of Zodiac that I wasn't aware of, and there's scenes of it's Mark Ruffalo when he's outside on one of the streets. I remember the scene. I can't remember whose house they're outside of, but they're outside someone's house, and effectively the whole thing was shot on a stage, and it blew my mind. Yeah. It blew my mind because what it really told me was that it's like, okay, actually, you can shoot this stuff on a stage, and use your blue screen, your green screen, and make it work. But the reason it works in these scenes I saw from Zodiac was because the lighting was spot on how natural lighting would be also at night.
At night, yeah, there's something in that.
The way the street light bounced, the way it was hitting, everything was how that would be naturally. And so there was, the DP clearly went to a lot of effort to make this look believable. Because when I watched that film, I mean, I just assumed, I've never deep dove into Zodiac and the filming of it. I just always assumed that all these scenes would have been filmed on location with a little bit of, painting the background to make it 1970s, Los Angeles or wherever it happens.
I've never thought it was anything but location. I have to say.
But there are moments that I thought were location that are actually just sound stages and stuff. I was like, well done.
All credit. Black and white must help.
Black and white, and it's like Ridley Scott with Blade Runner. Nighttime, fog, and rain.
Yeah.
You can hide a lot.
Well, I know that The Elephant Man is shot in black and white for a variety of reasons, and I think part of the reason it's shot in black and white is to hide the fact that in color it looks like a mask.
On the last thing on the production side, let's talk about the kissing scene before we dive into the story in more detail.
Okay.
This was the thing we mentioned earlier, where he sort of stepped around the Hays Code, which at that time, basically, if you had kissing scenes, which this particular scene went on for, I think it's like two and a half minutes. But the Hays Code basically said that kisses need to be limited to no more than 3 seconds each. So, little pansy. It's just so funny to me. These ultra conservative. It's like, it's just funny because, like, okay, all these people watching this stuff pretended to be all like, straight up, or like they're still going home and they're fucking,
Yeah, exactly.
Like, it just baffles me. It
baffles me. I've never been a fan of sort of censorship generally. I think if you don't want to watch something, don't watch it. That's the best censorship for you.
Yeah.
But it's just like, it's so sort of patronizing.
Really
to say you can't see two people in love or whatever kissing for more than 3 seconds. We won't allow it. When, like you say, they're going to go home and have a night of it.
Exactly.
Some of them. So it's just pointless.
And also in a film where your main female protagonist is being labeled a promiscuous, possibly sex worker, possibly a lot of notches on her belt. It's very of that time, stuck up, prudish.
Well, and it's just
behavior.
It's just hypocrisy, isn't it? Because they're quite happy for it to be promiscuous in terms of the plot, but we mustn't see her kissing for more than 3 seconds.
Yes.
What are you talking about? I can't stand it. I really can't.
So I kind of, it is funny that I sort of love the middle finger to the Hays Code with this, where it's a lot of these old sort of noirs kind of do that. They find ways to sort of step around it. We've talked about it with other films like The Big Sleep and stuff, where they find little ways of trying to insert things or get things around the using innuendo and suggestion and things like that. But I, it was funny because both Grant and Ingrid were sort of nervous about this scene because they were sort of like, what the hell's going on? What the hell's going on? Because they just sort of walking around the room, nibbling on each other, not properly kissing, just sort of nuzzling, and it's a very sort of, romantic, screwing like jackrabbits vibe.
Yes.
To it. Yes. Which is fun, but like the whole time they're just talking about food and chicken and getting messages, and but it's a fascinating scene. Do you think that it works?
I'm going to preface this by saying I love the middle finger as well, and I give all credit that I can to Hitchcock for doing it.
Yes.
Does it work? No, it starts to look a bit ridiculous after a while. However, it's the best he can do, isn't it?
Yes.
It's the best it's the best he can do with the tools he's got, I suppose, is what I'm saying. And
yes.
So objectively, no, I don't think it necessarily works. I think it does start to look a bit clingy, and a bit silly.
Is it?
But I absolutely applaud the reason, the thinking behind it.
Is it because Grant isn't giving much back?
Well, I think it's because no adults behave like this. But yeah, I think it is. I think it is that Grant's very much more sort of like a stick, and she's hanging off him, and he's cold and aloof. She's all in for it, isn't she? She's just like you say, kissing his cheek and then his neck and then his ear and then kissing the other cheek and just sort of kissing him all over like a sort of unwanted aunt. And I just think it starts to get a bit daft after a while. But I have to make it clear that I fully support the intention, and I fully support the desire to stick that middle finger up at the code. And I have to say, what else could he have done? So yeah, I sort of like it and don't like it.
Yeah, but there's two things that are funny about it. One, Ben, the writer, was like, "What the hell was that about? All they're doing is talking about chicken." Which, to be fair, yeah, I kind of get it. They could have maybe had a more romantic conversation going on. Something a bit more personal, maybe, possibly. Second, the idea for this came when I can't remember where he said he was. I think he was like in France or something. But Hitchcock said he was in France.
Yeah, now this is bizarre.
Saw a guy taking a piss while his girlfriend is holding on to his arm the whole time, having a look at his dong while he's having a wee, looking around, but it wouldn't let go of him the entire time.
Yeah.
And this is one of those things where like you find this so often, people are like, oh, this just isn't believable. And then it's like, actually, I saw something like this in real life. And then it's that truth is stranger than fiction moment.
Yeah, of which there are many.
Yes. And so for me, I love the finger to the Hays Code. I love the concept. I love the idea behind the scene. I think what doesn't work is some of the, I think it's the dialogue. We needed something a little bit more between them that wasn't just, I got a chicken in the ice box.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I was going to say, you mentioned The Big Sleep earlier. If you compare this to the horse riding or horse racing dialogue in The Big Sleep, that is streets ahead of this. That's the sort of dialogue we needed. My only that was not necessarily a copy of it, because it wouldn't be right for these two characters, but we needed that sort of leaving you in no doubt what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And a chicken in the icebox, a frozen chicken doesn't really do much for me. No. It doesn't suggest sort of it doesn't suggest the same sort of love and near obsession that not letting go of your man's hand while he's having a wee.
You know what it needed? It needed sexy food.
Yes.
It needed chocolate covered something, strawberries. It needed
that. Yeah, it needed. Yes, it did. Yes, it did. Not a frozen chicken. Quite the opposite.
No, exactly. if we had something like that, you could have, that would have gone a long way to emphasize subtly, or maybe not even subtly, but to work on the the innuendo of kind of what they're getting at. Because I mean, come on, like he's Grant's character, Devlin is clearly into it. He clearly wants it. He's fallen for it, but he's trying to be a bit stoic and stuff like that. But
and Hitchcock said
more.
Yeah, and Hitchcock said romance must not be interrupted even by urinating when he was telling that story.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
I think, well, yeah, I get that. I understand that, and I applaud that. I absolutely applaud that. But this scene doesn't give me that.
Yeah.
You
needed more reaction from Grant. We needed just a little bit more Grant, like succumbing to, this beautiful woman who's hanging all over him. Like, like, come on, man. Like,
he's too aloof. He's too cold and too distant.
Yes. But this is a really good segue into discussing Devlin. And just him generally in the film. I love his intro. I love him, just this behind the head shot during this party. He's just observing. He is the man in the room that no one is paying attention to. And you know who he is. You know what he is.
Yeah.
He's James Bond.
Well, I was just going to say, beat me to it, because Grant was a contender for Bond. Fleming wanted Grant to be, and this is what I think Grant's Bond would be. If he'd agreed to do, because he said he'd do one, but he wouldn't do two. So if he'd agreed to do two, and we got Dr. No from Russia with Love with Cary Grant, Devlin is what we would have got.
I agree. And if you fast forward to 2006, and you got Casino Royale, and you have that scene between Bond and Vesper when she's like, it's just easy for you, isn't it? To just switch off and, kill those people and not think anything about it. And he's like, well, I wouldn't be very good at my job if I couldn't.
Yeah.
And Cary Grant really is what Daniel Craig's Bond is, and what not more Devlin is more close to novel Bond than Connery. I was watching this whole time just thinking, I know this. I mean, this predates Bond. This predates the books. This predates
all of it. Yeah,
films. And I just kept thinking, I am watching a proto Bond. This is
you are. You definitely are.
I wouldn't be surprised if Fleming was influenced by this film and this portrayal, especially if he actually wanted Grant to be Bond.
This is why he says Grant. This is why he proposes Grant. I think he's got Notorious in his mind. Absolutely. And when you see Grant, we'll get into the plot later, but he engineers so that he's invited to this big plush dinner party, and he arrives in a tuxedo. You're not telling me that's not what James Bond looks like?
Yes.
It's exactly what James Bond looks like. And just a thought about Casino Royale, when they have that conversation on the train, him and Vesper, and she says, "How was your lamb?" and he says, "Skewered." That's the sort of subtext dialogue we need.
Yes,
on the balcony in Rio. You know what I mean? But yeah, I agree. This is Cary Grant as James Bond. Cold, as book James Bond. Cold, ruthless, but a lover as well.
Yes. Especially if you go back and if you look at young pictures of Cary Grant, and then you go back and you look at the original sketch for Bond.
For Bond, yeah.
Very similar jawline.
Yep.
Very similar straight nose. Very similar jet black hair, slicked back.
Yeah.
Very much like what Devlin is. Like, it's like, this is I got you.
I remember, I was thinking to myself watching it in preparation for this, thinking, I know why Ian Fleming named him as his. I'm not sure if he says it's his ideal choice, but it's certainly one of them. Certainly one of the ones that he wanted.
Yeah,
I mean, you can see it.
Maybe when we'll post pictures. We'll post side by sides of, because there's a picture of Cary Grant that is angled almost in the exact same position as that Bond illustration. that would be fun to do a side by side.
Yeah, we'll put some more. Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at a picture of him now with. I mean, it's champagne. Actually, we know from watching the film it's champagne, but he's got this like expensive glass in his hand, and he's in a tuxedo, and he's got Ingrid Bergman by his side.
Yes,
and it just looks like Bond and Vesper.
It does.
It's brilliant. It's great casting, I think.
It is, which is why during that kissing scene, to bring it all back, during that kissing scene, when he is cold and aloof, he's on the job.
Yeah, he is.
That is
working.
Work.
Yes, he's working.
But he's conflicted inside in the same way Bond is conflicted with Vesper, and that he is falling in love with her while he's trying to work.
Yes, and doesn't in the book he says something about that, doesn't he? He says like they're always getting in the way of just getting the job done. You know, things like that, and that's Devlin all over. And I also like the fact that he's got that broken heart as well, because he lost her, which is what happens at the end of the book Moonraker, you know. And I think that Bond loses the girl in Moonraker, and I think that's I can see in Devlin all that. If they made a film with Cary Grant as Bond, and he played it like Devlin, and it was the sort of Bond just after Moonraker, or the next mission after Moonraker, you're pretty much there or thereabouts for an ideal Fleming book faithful James Bond interpretation, I would say. For anyone who thinks Cary Grant is, a comic, I mean, he is. He was a great comic, or too light for Bond, I say watch Notorious.
Yes, but also, I mean, my God, Sean Connery is cracking jokes the whole time.
Yeah.
Roger Moore's entire Bond tenure was
Roger Moore gets the flack for creating the comic Bond, but Connery was doing it.
Connery did it, but Connery was cool and suave.
Connery
was
makes that
fucking clown.
Connery makes that crack about listening to the Beatles without earmuffs. But yeah, the delivery is all different. The delivery is different.
Yes,
I don't think Cary Grant's James Bond would have been cracking any jokes. I think it would have been like we get Devlin here. I think, and I think it would have been superb to see.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I agree, and it's funny because even when I was a kid watching Cary Grant and stuff, and I was in that time when I was watching Connery's Bond, and I was watching these films, I always thought in my head, I always envisioned Grant as a Bond character, as Bond.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, man, why were they never? And it's just funny to me that as child Luke would see Grant and would see Bond, like he was born to play that role and he never did.
Never did.
Except for maybe here.
Except for here. Yeah, I mean, this is Bond in all but name, but like you say, it's pre Bond's creation. So it's ahead of the Bond curve as well. Got to have been an influence on Fleming. Must have been.
Yeah.
But totally different to Grant's other great spy film, North by Northwest, which is a much more, if this is sort of Connery Bond, if Notorious is Connery Bond, then North by Northwest is Cary Grant's Moore's Bond, Roger Moore's Bond, sort of much more light-hearted and flippant. And in North by Northwest, his performance in North by Northwest isn't James Bond to me, but Devlin is definitely a prototype Bond without a shadow of a doubt.
Absolutely. It was spot on. I was watching, I was like, oh, this is great. It's like I'm watching a non-canon Bond film. It predates Bond. It's proto Bond. It is. I would say Notorious is proto Bond. There's got to be some literature out there somewhere that says, that confirms that Fleming was influenced. If he thought he would be a good Bond, it's because he saw him somewhere doing a good Bond, and just has to be this.
It's got to be here.
Let's talk about Alicia.
Yes.
What an interesting character.
She is what Hitchcock said she is. She is a woman who is, sold into sexual slavery, whatever it is he said, for political purposes. But she's. Do you agree with Selznick? Do you think is she unsympathetic?
No, I think of all the people in the film, she's the person you empathize with the most.
The most, yeah, absolutely, I agree.
Sure.
She's the heart of this film. Because what else? I mean, I think her and Claude Rains are the heart of this film, really. For me,
yeah.
Because Devlin is this cool, cool, detached, aloof agent whose misunderstanding of a situation is why she's in this position in the first place. You know, which we'll come on to. And then the only other characters you've got really are the men in suits who do what men in suits in political power do. And they tell people to do things for a common good without any consideration of what it means to that person. You know, so they're quite willing for Alicia to do what she's got to do without any thought to how it might affect her. You know, and they're just all these bland. I mean, it's America, so it's White House people or whatever they are. But I would say Westminster men who, you know, just create these plots and then say, right, I'll go off, you go and do them. While they go and they have nothing at risk whatsoever. They have nothing at stake whatsoever. You know, it's everyone else taking the risk for them.
Yeah.
So I think she is the character that anchors this film, the emotional anchor of this film.
Definitely, I think so. But I also think it's really quite bold to have this character be this sort of the duality that she's struggling with of her father is a Nazi traitor, you know, and her mother is an American, a patriot, you know, and she is both is loyal to America and despises Nazis and Nazism, and it's just a, you know, I mean, modern comparison would be, you know, people who are, you know, I don't know, their dad is a MAGA nut, and you know their mom is a, I don't know, Mexican immigrant. You know what I mean? Like, like if you were to modernize this story, you would probably do something like that, because it's like it's you know, it's these political you know, opposing sides, like drastically opposing sides, have somehow come together. And you know, clearly her father was, you know, he was you know, not a spy, but he was you know, undercover in the States. And you know, this was all, I'm assuming this family was all part of his cover, whether he was, you know, really in love or not, you know, who knows. But this, you know, she finds out who and what he is, and he gets tried and sent to jail, and you know, offs himself by, you know, biting down on a cyanide capsule. But it's just fascinating to me. This film is sort of exploring that reality of Alicia. Is this sort of person torn between the awfuls of what her father was involved in, her loyalty to America, but also the way, you know, American intelligence agencies are wanting to exploit her, and risk her life just because, without any care, without any second thought, without considering her as a person.
Yeah, well,
she's just a pawn.
That's what I mean. These men in suits that just don't, they see her as a tool, you know, and they get her to do it by playing back a recording of her arguing with her dad.
Yeah.
And showing her love, what they say is her love for America. You know, so they get her into this situation by using her own words against her, when really she wants nothing to do with it, you know. And
exactly.
She's a pawn, but she's got to survive somehow. So what does she do? I mean, she's a very compelling character, this, you know, and of course she is what is notorious. What is notorious about this film is her reputation, because they think she's a loose woman.
Yes.
You know, and she's known as being, in inverted commas, a degenerate. You know, and the first time we see her, she's pretty much the first time we see her, she's getting drunk. But that's what people see. They don't for a minute question why she's getting drunk.
Exactly.
You know, they only see a woman with a reputation getting drunk. Yeah. And that still happens. That sort of prejudice is still there.
Yeah.
You still have that. This film is actually quite current for something that is 80 years old.
Well, exactly. It's baffling. It really is baffling at times, because it's, and this is why it's such a fascinating commentary and quite a bold commentary for Hitchcock to sort of want to explore this so bluntly. In this sort of, it's just it's a fun, spy movie, noir spy movie, but actually, like, Alicia, the sexism that she's coming across and dealing with is brutal. I mean, she makes comments about it all the time, about how, the way people view her and see her, and even when she tells Devlin that she's finally slept with Alex, with Claude Rains' character, there's just the way she phrases it is so sort of, well, this is the way you see me, as just some slag, so yep, I've done it, I hope you're fucking happy.
She essentially says, doesn't she? She essentially says something like, well, look, this is what you wanted. And the reason that she's in this position is that he misunderstands. He puts her in the danger she ends up in, because he misunderstands who and what she is and her feelings for him.
Do you think he misunderstands?
I think so. Yeah, I think so.
I don't. I think he
does
knows.
it on purpose.
Well, this is where that cold Bond quality for me comes in with Devlin. I think the whole time he knows, because the minute he's told what the job is, his reaction is quite visceral. He's like, "What? You can't do this. You kidding me?" Because he doesn't want her to do it. He doesn't want her to step into that arena. He doesn't want to put her in that danger. But like Bond, for king and country, or queen and country.
Interesting, because when he's told, because it turns out she's got a past with Claude Rains' character as well.
Yes, not really a past. He fancied her, and they want to play on that. They were never together.
That's yeah. She knew him from the past.
Yes,
and so my reading was that, this is interesting. My reading was that they tell Grant that to get him to sort of get to comply, and he reads more into it than there is.
No, it's not. That's not my reading at all. No, that's they get the call. We got our mission. He goes and
so he thinks she's going to enjoy it. He thinks, well, this is what she wants all along.
Okay, I don't quite read it that way. No, it's fascinating, because when he gets upset about it in that meeting, I think what we're seeing is his struggling feelings for her. But at the same time, he has to go along with it, which then he becomes a little bit more cold, a little bit more detached, all the while she's still being very lovey and cozy, and clearly from her body language and even what she's saying at times, she's not thrilled about it. But I feel like he has to almost become detached. He has to do that Bond thing of like, well, I wouldn't be very good at my job if I couldn't. And I think he had to force himself to become detached, which ultimately leads him to rescuing her at the end, because he can't resist he can't remain detached from her, because he does love her, and he's put her in such a.
So I read that as he knows he loves her. He's always known he loves her, but he realizes at the end what a terrible mistake he made. And that's what. So he saves. That's what. He sort of saves. He saves her because he's realized what a mistake he's made early on, and that she, he's misinterpreted her relationship, in inverted commas, with Claude Rains previously. I mean, it works either way. I think it works either way. He still gets the redemption, if you like.
It does, but I think both times I've watched this, I never got the impression that he was misunderstanding what went on between Rains and her. I always felt that it was, I always felt that he was just sort of forced to sort of go along with it, and then he's realizing how far they have pushed her, because he also, especially when he makes that snide comment about that other guy's wife, when in one of those meetings,
playing bridge,
playing bridge,
bridge,
and they sort of make a nasty comment about Alicia, and then he makes that comment about her, because so he is now suddenly he's rising up to defend her, because he has these feelings and emotions, but then they sort of snap at him and he apologizes because he has to get back in line, because he is the agent, they are the men in charge, and he has to listen to them. It's interesting, because my reading has been that he is conflicted, because he wants to be with her, but needs this mission to go ahead, has to use her, is conflicted about using her.
I get all that as well.
Yeah,
I get all that as well, but I add in that I think he misunderstands. When he learns that she has a past that involves Claude Rains' character Sebastian, that sort of pisses him off, and he doesn't like it so much then. And then he thinks, oh, well, she deserves it then. Now, you see, what I want to do now is watch it again.
I think you need to, because
straight after we've recorded, go watch it again.
Either I'm missing this or
I'm reading too much. I don't know.
I think so, because I never picked up on that. I never got that vibe. I always got the he has to do it because this is the mission. Which, I mean, speaking of this is the mission, I mean, this is the basis for Mission Impossible 2. Yeah. And that is the exact same struggle that Ethan has to deal with when Naya is sent in to, rekindle the relationship with Sean Ambrose.
Of course, yeah.
And he hates it, but it has to happen, and he hates it.
There is a convergence there, isn't there? Definitely.
Well, there's more than convergence. They've gone on the record. It's on the record of Mission Impossible 2 is literally meant to be a remake of.
Oh, is it? Oh, right.
Yeah, literally.
Well, there you go. If it's on the record, then fair enough.
Right. And they literally took inspiration from Notorious, and I'm going to point out a few things later on. But yeah, that's been. I go back and rewatch it, because I want to see if you still feel that way, because I
mean, all credit to the script for making it even a point of debate, I think.
Yeah.
I think it's good that the script can produce two. I mean, they're not wildly different, but one interpretation on one person and another on a second.
I just think it's because he has to be so cold towards her, and I think he has to be cold because if he remains attached to her, it just becomes harder for him to accept what is going on to her.
Yeah, we'll ask when we release the episode. We'll ask for comments.
We will. Okay, let's move on and talk about Alex Sebastian and Madame Sebastian.
Well, what a pair!
I know, right?
What a pair! First of all, Claude. I could watch Claude Rains, sweep the streets. I think he's fabulous.
He is,
and in everything that he's in, he's one of those actors that can make, no matter how ludicrous the lines he's being given to say, he makes them believable. And I'm thinking there of Lon Chaney's The Wolfman, where he plays Lon Chaney's dad, which is ridiculous because Lon Chaney's about 7 foot tall and Claude Rains is about 4'2". So God, heaven knows what the mother looked like. You know what I mean? but he's one of those actors that just makes me believe him every time. I believe everything, and I believe him here. I believe that I believe he's in love with Alicia from all those years ago and has never stopped being. I believe he's thinks he's sort of missed out by not having her, and he's got a second chance. I believe that his mother is horrendous, and that he probably knows it deep down. And I have to say, given what he is, I do feel sorry for him when the final curtain falls. I really do.
Interesting. I don't know if I feel sorry for him, but it's quite his just desserts.
Well, maybe what I'm saying is I feel sorry the way that Rains plays it. I feel sorry for him. You know,
yeah,
more than what the character is. That
yeah,
it's his realization of what is happening.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and the way Rains portrays it and gets it across.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan of Rains, whether that's the Wolfman or Casablanca, obviously Notorious. He's very easy to like on screen. He is just he was a fantastic guy. I think he's brilliant. And I think he was the perfect fit for this particular role because you sort of, there is an element of likability to him.
Yeah.
But then there's this nice, just beneath the surface, this layer of nefarious,
definitely.
quality to him that you're sort of scared of him a little bit, but then at the same time, as you start diving deeper into this guy, he's nothing but a mommy's boy.
Yeah.
And I find that so fascinating that he is meant to be this big master, like Nazi mastermind, who is constantly going to his mommy for permission, for advice, for help.
Yeah.
What is, I mean, there's probably various layers in which this could be dissected, but like, what is the sort of backhanded compliment, or not compliment, but what is the sort of remark that is making about Nazis? They're a bunch of men who are still sucking their mommy's tits.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's exactly what it says.
Yeah.
And it's and it says it without any degree or attempt at apology either.
Yes.
I mean, it's a stroke of genius to have this domineering mother at the heart of what this man does. And you sort of, you do get the impression that some of them were, that they were sort of Oedipal.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And because I mean, we don't know anything about the other Nazis that are in this story, but some of them look really, one in particular looked really chilling to me. Whereas Rains is very suave and Rains is very sort of cultured.
Yeah.
And, but behind him is this absolute monster. And there is an element of a sort of middle-aged Norman Bates about him.
Definitely.
There is an element of that. I wish I was free of you, but I don't know how I'd cope if I was free of you. And constantly asking her what to do, and her telling him how to deal with Alicia.
Yeah. I
mean, that is Norma Bates.
Oh yeah.
You kill her or I will, Norman, sort of thing. And she's saying she will have to go, but slowly, so that no one notices.
Yeah.
She's really unpleasant and really unsettling. A great performance.
Definitely.
Great performance. And one of my favorite character introductions in film, where she just sort of gets closer to the camera. As Alicia walks in, she's getting closer to Alicia, as if to say, right, I know what you are.
Yes. Yes. You're
not
taking my son away from me,
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I got very strong Psycho vibe. Again, pre-Psycho, both book and film. But some definite Psycho vibes in this, as we said earlier, on account of the fact that Hitchcock's mum has just passed.
Yes.
And I think he had some of those issues himself.
I think so. I think this is that sort of first attempt to sort of explore whatever that psychosis is.
Yeah, whatever that means.
And is something that he will take on into his other films, and explore the sort of, I don't know, that there's a sense of kind of like that anger, frustration, that is, that he clearly has with his mom, and you kind of you get that same sort of vibe from Alex and his mother, like when Alicia is like, oh, where are the fucking keys? And he's like, oh, yeah. mommy has the keys, let me go ask her for them.
Yeah. That's pretty much a direct quote.
His house. This is his house. This is his place. He has to go ask his mommy for the keys to the closets because she controls them. And he goes and gets it. But there's that I just love that scene where he goes into her room, he knocks, mommy, and then goes inside, closes the door, and you're just sort of like, oh my God, what is, like, are they going to start yelling? Is he in trouble? He literally comes to her as this pathetic man-child.
That's exactly what he is. And that's what so many of them are, isn't it? That's what so many of them are, man babies.
And babies. It's that blurred line between, like, motherly love and then like erotic.
Well,
that is going on. It's very uncomfortable and eerie and slimy because it's all just done so. In some ways it's not subtle, but in many ways in this film, this kind of stuff is subtle because there's just this weird relationship between these two that, he can't wipe his ass without his mommy.
Without his mum, yeah. And the fact that very often you see him either seeking advice or sort of bleating to her, and she's sitting up in bed.
She's like the adult.
Yeah, he's gone to see his mum in bed. It's just all very like unpalatable.
It's gross.
But it says, it's informing on his character, because then at the end he cries like a baby, pretty much.
Yes.
Yes. He's not far off it, is he? At the very end. No. And again, we'll talk about the end later, but again, a very Bondy and ruthless touch from Devlin. When we get to talk about it, the line that he gives him is very Fleming Bond, I think.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think the other thing that I really appreciated about watching Notorious this time around, that I maybe didn't quite think about so much the first time I watched it years ago, was the lack of what I call the Jaws effect, or what people will call the Jaws effect. But I feel like there is the Jaws effect in this film, and that is less is more. And what I mean by that is there is no violence on screen, but the implied violence is terrifying. Whether that is Elise's dad snapping the cyanide pill, just him telling her on the plane while they're going to Rio, by the way, your dad killed himself. She's like, oh my God. And then she's shaken by it. She's sad by it. And again, you're diving into these complex feelings of like, my dad was a Nazi, but he was also my dad. Why I feel sad. I don't think I should feel it, but I feel, very complicated set of emotions being explored here.
Yeah, very complicated set of emotions
with this.
Because, I mean, if you're the child of a monster, you are still that monster is still your parent.
Yeah, it's complicated.
There's a documentary about the BTK killer, his daughter, and it's quite a moving documentary. Actually, it's worth watching. But at one point she does say something along the lines of, he is still my dad, but I've got to come to terms with what he was and what he did. And I was reminded of that watching this, because you're right. Alicia knows what a dad was, but he was still a dad.
Exactly.
This is complex human relationships. This isn't this isn't sort of white hats and black hats.
No,
you know, this is real complex, believable,
it's very
human
gray
relationships, and it makes it all the more fascinating and intriguing and compelling.
Yeah,
that you're dealing with things that happen, you know, and that have happened and are happening and will happen.
Yeah, another really good example of it is the character of Emil, who, you know, he's outside the office. He's nervous to go in. You know, knocks on the door, goes in. And he's profusely apologizing for you know, fucking some stuff up, and and you know, you just see the terror. And then when that one Nazi stands up and says, "Oh, I will take you home.
I'll take you home."
No. And he, you know, as he's walking out the door and he's shaking, he's like, "Good night, Mr. Sebastian. You know, goodbye, Mr." You know, he's like, I am going to die. I am dead.
Absolutely.
I am a dead man now.
Yes, absolutely.
You know, and then when he does turn up dead, we don't see it. We just hear about it. But that performance mixed with what you learn later, it makes it all more scary. It makes it all more nefarious. It makes it all more
sinister.
Yes, sinister, definitely
is the word. And that's why the ending is so good, because it's perfectly it's a perfectly pitched setup.
Yes.
With Emil,
definitely.
You know, and the fact that Claude Rains is there, Sebastian is there when it happens. So he knows these things go on.
Yes.
It's a perfect setup and payoff for me.
Yes.
And I also like that when you talk about the lack of violence, so easy to succumb to a gunfight or a fist fight at the climax of this film. It would have been so simple.
Yes.
But what you get is more exciting and tense than
you mean like this
almost
this
any
climax.
Shootout.
You mean like this couldn't climax in two guys chasing each other around on motorcycles as if they're jousting and then beating the shit out of each other on a beach in
with
Australia?
A ludicrously prolonged fight scene where surely one of them is dead.
You mean that isn't a better conclusion to Notorious?
Well, funnily enough, it may come as a surprise, but no, I don't think it is. I remember watching Mission Impossible 2 and saying to my wife, how are they both standing? How are they still able to get up after this? But
that film is much better than the last two Mission Impossible movies.
Well, yeah.
Dead Reckoning and Final Reckoning. Mission Impossible 2, as ludicrous as it is, I would rather watch that than those last two. So we will cover Mission Impossible 2 because it is a remake of Notorious. At some point.
Yeah, we will. Yeah, we will. I've no problem with ludicrous action films as long as they sort of know that they're ludicrous action films, and I think Mission Impossible 2 does.
Mission Impossible 2 is the most 2000 movie possible. From its fiery flames and intro to its slow-mo to it is just everything that is the year 2000 is Mission Impossible 2. It's amazing.
Yeah, they should have called it Mission Impossible 2000.
No, I'm surprised they didn't. Honestly, honestly. Anyway, back to let's go back to
let's go back to Notorious.
To the better version, to the better Notorious. That final scene with Sebastian, with Alex, is let's dive into that, because I think that's a really good scene. So obviously, Devlin is turned up and he's there to rescue her, and in a way that is also very sort of quiet and somber. Like he goes to the house and he's waiting, and he just goes up to her room and takes her out, and it's as you said, you could have easily descended into action chaos, but it's all very mannered, and measured. And but it's also tense, because once Alex comes up and sees them and starts to say something, then mommy comes out and is like, oh my God. And then his Nazi friends are at the bottom of the stairs.
Yeah.
And he's like, look, we can tell them all right now the truth if you want.
Yeah, tell them who she is, he says.
Yes. Because the thing is, Devlin's like, I'm not at risk here. The person who's at risk is you and your
mom. What I love about it is purposefully slow because she's drugged and she can't move fast.
Yes.
So that draws out this walk to safety.
Yes.
And in order to get to the safety, which is his car outside, they have to walk through the Nazi agents.
Yeah.
And all the time, Devlin is saying to her, not far now, we're nearly there, and keeping her going. And it seems to take forever, as it would if you were in that situation.
Yeah.
And there is something just so tense about it, about that sense of freedom is only 30 yards away, but it's a long and difficult 30 yards.
Yes.
That makes two blokes on motorbikes just look silly. This is real tension. This is real tense, but it's believably so.
Yeah.
And it's humanly so. This is a human predicament rather than a fist fight.
Yeah.
And who's he going to fight? He can't fight Claude Rains, can he? There's a significant handicap there, isn't there, for Claude Rains?
Yeah.
In fact, he's about 7 foot shorter. But
yes.
But it's a human dilemma and a human drama and a human obstacle they've got to get over. And I find that absolutely nail-biting. I really do.
Yeah.
I really do. And all the time, Mother is saying, say something, Alex. Do something, Alex.
Yes.
And he doesn't know what to say, does he? He doesn't know what to do and what to say.
Yes. Yes. And
then he does that altogether human flaw of he leaves it too long to say something so that they don't believe it the minute he says it.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. It's so tense. It's such a brilliant scene, and they're clocking it the whole time. His compatriots. his
they are. Yeah, they are. And then there's something really chilling when one of them just says they say they phoned for an ambulance from her room.
Oh yes,
Devlin. And then one of the Nazi agents says to the other, there is no telephone in her room.
Yes, another good setup and payoff, because they need the phone out of her room so she can't call for help.
Yeah.
So they remove the phone from her room.
They remove the phone.
Know the phone has been removed from her room, and that is another just like perfect. You set yourself up for this fall, and my God, do you deserve it as well?
So the sort of noir ending for me is Claude Rains's.
It's Claude, and I think I would say it's also Alicia, even more so than Devlin. I think both. I think she's the one who doesn't really get a happily ever after. She gets the bittersweet ending of, she was almost killed, but she got away. But it's to what end?
Yeah, and he gets the fatalistic. Life is against you, pal. And it's of your own making. It's of your own making. Brilliant.
But that moment when they put Alicia into the car, and he's like trying to get in.
Yeah.
And he locks the car door. Devlin locks the car door.
Yeah. And he says something like, they'll kill me or whatever he says. And Devlin says something like, well, that's your headache.
Yeah. Yes.
That is so Bondy in that.
Totally. That is Casino Royale Bond right there.
Right 100%.
there. 100%. Not right film, there. But like book. That is 100% novel Casino Royale Bond.
Yeah.
That is
it
what
certainly
you get.
is. It certainly is. That's your headache.
Yeah.
That is cold and it's ruthless.
Yes.
And you know that Devlin means it and doesn't care.
Yes. Yes, as he shouldn't. And and then Claude Rains' Alex's slow walk back into the house, and then the door shutting. And they don't even do the thing where you don't hear a gunshot, you don't hear anything.
No, the door closing is enough.
Yeah, and the thing is, I'm thinking it's not just Alex who's probably going to die. It's going to be him and his mom.
Oh, Mother goes.
They're both going. And
again, it's a very innocuous closing line of, don't they say something like, Alex, can you come back inside so we can talk?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. 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 Alex, can you please come inside? We would like to speak with you, or something like that.
Something like that. Yeah,
It's very like
innocuous,
polite and measured, and
but makes you go, "Oh no!"
yes, you're like,
So,
oh, you know
again, the
what's going
hidden
to happen.
violence, the
Yes.
unshown violence.
Yes. This is why I love all of the threats of violence are all done through politeness and almost kindness. It's like, no, I'll drive you home. I'll drive you home.
Yeah,
I'll be
I'll drive
nice.
you. Yeah.
Can you please come inside? We would like to speak with you for a minute.
Yeah, all that politeness and all that suave charm hides an absolute multitude of horror.
It is pitch perfect, I would say.
Pitch perfect, yeah, pitch perfect. As the music swells and the door closes.
Yes.
Like you say, no cheap gunshot, because I suspect it wouldn't be a gunshot. No. There'd be a lot more to it than that.
Yeah. Yes. Yeah. Definitely.
Couple of fingernails, couple of teeth. I don't know.
Oh yes. Oh yes. Yes. They were tortured. They were 100% tortured.
Yeah. And I agree. I don't think, for all her controlling of her son, Mother has absolutely no control over what's about to happen.
Yes. Yes. Exactly. It is a perfect ending. I think I have to agree. I think it was Hitchcock's daughter who said that every time she watches it, this is she realized how perfect this film is. And this Notorious would probably be I'd probably put it as my second favorite Hitchcock film. To Catch a Thief is always going to be number one for me, and I think this is probably number two.
Now that's interesting, because like I said at the outset, I've not watched this for years and years and years. I only remembered the tracking shot down the stairs and the whole business of the key, hiding the key from Claude Rains when she embraces him, and the bit in the wine cellar where he kisses her to distract and to buy some time. And I thought, I'm pretty sure that this film's just, because that's all I remember. Maybe that's all really there is to it, because I don't remember anything else about it. But when I rewatched it for this, it's full of stuff. It's full of brilliant character work, complexity, and it's all good. So it's rocketed up in my estimation from Hitchcock films. And it was only sort of low because I'd not seen it for so long, and I'd forgotten about it, really, because it does tend to be overshadowed by the Rear Windows and the Vertigos. And I mean, I'd rather watch this than Vertigo, I think.
Oh, I would too. I'm not a big fan of Vertigo.
No, I think that's
another one. I'm like, I'm all right.
Yeah, yeah. And things like Rope and Psycho, obviously. People talk about that, but they don't seem to talk about Notorious. And I think they should be doing. I think people should be doing much more so than they seem to. Because, like you, it's certainly in my top 5.
Yeah, definitely. And it's funny because, there are things that we haven't really talked about in detail. Things like, the relationship, the Claude Rains' performance, and how desperate and jealous he is of Devlin, and possessive he is of Alicia. We haven't really dove into the wonderful party scene, and how that is spinning around and so eloquently put together, and the kiss and stuff like that to sort of manipulate Alex more, and the way that she steals the key to get into the cellar, and there's we would have to do, I would say we'll do another episode on this film at some other point in the future, because there's so
much more. We've not talked about the score. I think the score is fabulous.
Yeah, true.
Because, again, I think if it would have been much more of a 1940s melodramatic, luxurious score if Selznick had stayed on board, But what we actually get is a much more, I don't know, it's far different from what music in this sort of film was like at the time. It's I think it's a fabulous score, and I think he was only a sort of studio composer. I don't think he was. They wanted Herman, but Herman wasn't available, and they got this sort of studio session composer to do it, and he does a great job. Yeah. So I think there's much more to investigate in this.
Yes.
In this particular film.
Yes. There are a few films that we've done that I think in time will probably warrant a second investigation, and I would say Notorious is one of them. There's
I think so.
There's a lot to sort of pick apart with this one, but I think probably for now we've done a good first sweep.
Yeah.
One. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Absolutely. I think we've tackled a lot, but it's a film that has a lot to say and a lot to offer.
Yes, it absolutely does. But I think on that, shall we rate it?
Yeah.
As you know, we rate all of our films out of 5 Falcons, 1 being the worst and 5 being the best. What do we rate Alfred Hitchcock's Notorious 1946? Start with you, Matt.
It's 5.
Fair enough. I'll give it a 5. I was gonna give it a 4, but I don't really think I have a good reason to give it a 4. Other than just being pedantic. So yeah, 5 for both of us. It's a strong film. It's fantastic. Go watch it. Go buy it. Own it.
Yeah,
watch it.
Yeah,
watch it
absolutely.
Again.
Deserves to be in everyone's collection. It's fabulous.
And I agree with you. I think this should be one of the Hitchcock films that is always talked about. This needs to be up there, and it's a shame that it's not forgotten or anything like that, but it is a shame that it's not one of the most popular. And I think part of the reason it's not is it's kind of gimmick free.
Yeah, I mean, there's just one bit that I did think I could do without this, and that's when they're at the horse racing, and she's got her binoculars, and you can see the horse race in the lenses. And I think that's very clever, Hitch, but I don't need it. And some Hitchcock films do over gimmick the gimmicks. That they can be too cinematically clever, but this I think is pitch perfect.
Yes.
And I agree. I think its lack of gimmickry is one of the reasons that it is. I mean, it's not overlooked, is it? We said at the outset it's widely regarded as good, but as a classic. But I bet if you did a poll if you asked the man in the streets to name 10 Hitchcock films, he wouldn't name this.
Yeah,
and he should. It should be up there with Psycho and Rear Window and North by Northwest and all those. For me,
I agree. Well, I think unless we have anything else to say, I think we can probably wrap this up for now.
Yeah, I've nothing more to add for this time around.
We have thoroughly investigated Notorious. For now, we will definitely be coming back to this one, I think, at some point, because there is just so much to unpack. But in the meantime, we will be back next week with another episode. But until then, take care walking down those mean streets.